Does this work?
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi there. Let me turn your volume up a bit as well. And we are also being rated by Nerdalopedia. Well, Nerdalopedia, hello and welcome. Ravenstar, thank you for the shout out to Nerdalopedia. And to our friends coming over from there. You were enjoying some Phasmophobia. I hope that was really good, spooky fun for you. Nerdalopedia, it is excellent to see you again. Verbane, it is awesome to see you. We have known each other's channels for quite some time now. So thank you for coming over. Jake died almost every time, so it was fun, right? You actually are here just in time. Oh wait, were you over? Were you playing with him, Raven, or were you? Is that just a broader commentary to whenever it is you play Phasmophobia? Oh, all right. You're the first one to die there. All right. Well, you all rated in at a very good time. We are just getting ready to start I don't want to call it an interview. I think an interview is far too formal or stressful a thing. Before I go into the setup of how and why we're here, would you like me to simply call you Stocktigon, or is there another way you want me to reference you?
You can call me Stock, Sam.
All right, Stock or Sam.
Fine. Whatever.
Gotcha. And also Miller. I'm sorry, I didn't see you sneak in here. Howdy to you, Miller. So, as you all in the audience, or most of you anyway, may recall, Darkwolf and I made our way over to Fort Wayne, Indiana, with your all's help in September. And while we were around, I had the fortune to come by the booth that was displaying Cult of the Deep. And not just the game itself looked interesting, but the altar upon which it was being played was absolutely an eye-catcher. It was there that you and I had begun to talk. You were giving me the bit of a demo, and I really enjoyed the concept. And, well, one thing led to the other. A business card was passed along. You did join up with us, and hopefully that's not a decision you're going to come to regret.
I'm good.
But here we are, and I wanted to showcase this game because number one, sir, you did me a favor. You answered the questions I had then and there, but you also sent along a copy of the game with me. It was something that hopefully I didn't strong arm you or anything for it. But
I have bruises from that day.
Oh well, all right. You shouldn't have admitted that because now there's consequences. But that aside, I'll let you fear that doom and dread. But in all honesty, I was an anyone. It's just some rando. For all you knew, I would have, I was just giving you a lip service, and I would have just liquidated this on eBay as soon as I got back. Like, okay, whatever. It's just whatever. I'm gonna sell it for $20, put it in my pocket, and then cool. But instead, what I wanted to do, especially because you did a very good job with your pitch of the game, and of course, you seemingly know a lot about this game for some reason.
Yeah, it's really, really strange, really weird. I don't understand it sometimes.
But in that spirit, you believed in me. You gave me a copy of the game, and so I wanted to make sure that we could feature it, we could show it off to everyone in chat, and to pass along that generous nature and spirit after talking about it and showcasing it, because it's here, it's wrapped up. I'm gonna let Darkwolf have the honor of tearing into the plastic, because I'm sure that will bring her a visceral joy. But I want to pass it on to someone here in the audience as well, so that they can bring it home and they can play it with their friends and family, and we can continue to spread the knowledge and the goodwill of this really neat game. There you go. So for those of you in the audience, if you are around here by the end of our play, of our demo, and of course our conversation here with Sam, then you might be able to win this copy of the game. Now, it won't be in its original wrapping. Well, not anymore.
No longer pristine. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's it. You drove it off the lot, and the value goes down at least 10%.
Yeah, simply by existence.
Is that true for board games, though? I've seen a lot of used board games that sell pretty well.
Yeah, depending, I suppose.
If it has all the pieces, yes.
Yeah, especially if there's a way to count that all the pieces are there. So for this is going to be a interactive, a Q&A. You all in the audience are welcome to ask questions about the game, about the rules of the game, and especially, look, we're talking to a developer of this game. You know, we're talking to someone who has gone through the process of taking an idea, and for all I know, it was a beer and pretzels night out with friends or family. You had a pen and a napkin, and now we're sitting here after a trade show with it in a game store on Twitch. Maybe that's not the story, but that's exactly what we can explore. But here we have someone who has taken an idea, brought it into fruition through production, and it's now here. It's here at market, so to speak. And I think this is a very unique interaction and circumstance. Not just for you all as the audience, but especially for me as a game store owner, where I can actually talk to a human being about this process.
There's dice.
Ooh.
You know that most games are just made by AIs now.
Can you confirm that you are a real human?
I think so.
Can you select which one of these images has a car? That's some pretty dice packs.
Oh, very much so.
It's like when you talk to the phone and you're not sure who you're talking to on the phone is actually a person or just like a really good AI system that's telling you all that stuff. Oh, no capture. Captures are bad. Captures are not needed.
Also, hi Freestyle and Sierra. And Cosmic, I think I welcomed you, but if not, hello to you as well, Cosmic. So while Darkwolf here is taking great joy in unboxing everything and showing it off on camera, can you actually give me a little bit of an overview? How did you and your fellow cultists, co-conspirators, and creators come up with the idea for this game? Like, what was the seed and what was the process to watch it grow to this point?
It was kind of an interesting story because it kind of starts with BA Games is our company, and what BA Games stands for, which actually means... what do you think it means?
Well, the first thing that would come to mind, of course, is, this is a badass game. But you also have a goat as a mascot. And so my mind, like, I wanted to go for the obvious. Bah games. That's the obvious. And as anyone knows, there's always two compartments. There's like the obvious compartment, someone like the thief finds it and they move on, and then there's the really valuable stuff that's in the super secret compartment. So
100%. So like we kind of did that, like, hey, that's what it is. Go through, and the image is good. We like that as a company. That our big push is on quality. Quality is a major concern for us. But BA, actually, the story is actually stands for Brothers Awesome, because I'm one of 5 brothers, and we grew up playing board games. That's what we did, because we were all different ages. We moved around a lot, so one thing we had was gaming. So when I was young, about, oh gosh, that was years ago. It was the 90s. Don't judge me, but I used to be a huge fan of MC Hammer.
Okay, no, that's
rapper. And so I thought I would start a career in rapping on my aunt's. She had a karaoke tape deck.
Okay.
That you could record, like you plug the microphone in and you could like record your song directly into a cassette tape. So, I recorded a few raps, one which was titled Brothers Awesome, Best in the World. So it became a long-standing joke for years, and then eventually we just embraced it and said, you know what, that is a good. We are Brothers Awesome. That's what we're doing. So we got together and we're like, we should do something. We originally thought we were gonna do a game store. Is what we were originally trying to think.
Oh, you poor souls. I'm sorry.
But the places where we wanted to do it, just the market wasn't right for it, because we have a really good gaming community here in Nebraska, and we have quite a few stores and really good stores. I know, Nebraska, right?
Well,
so it's kind of, we kind of waited, and then what ended up happening was I designed a few games, but they were absolutely terrible, like just awful. But that's kind of what you do. Like when you first start doing something, you're not supposed to be good at it.
Yep.
So I made a number of games. They're all awful, and then what ended up happening was I had this idea for a game, because my biggest issue was I love social deduction games, but I saw a lot of problems with them as a genre. And to me, a few of those things are, number one, is some games they give you stuff to do, but you don't really have meaningful choices. And other ones where you have meaningful choices, things you can decide on, sometimes you can be overridden. Like people just like talk louder than you, or you just kind of cough funny, and they're like, "Oh, you're obviously the werewolf, so you need to die," or whatever.
Yeah, you wore the red T-shirt that day to werewolf, and so every day or like every round, you're the first one out. So
yeah, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what happens. And there's good things to be had in those games. I like werewolf. I like a lot of those games, but I wanted to create a game that had more to it. And so that's what Cult of the Deep is. It's basically if you were to take a werewolf, a bang, or you're to take a hidden role game, and you were to add some more and layer on some more board game mechanics and meaningful choices, because in the end, what it is you're this cultist, and you're all part of this cult, and you're trying to figure out who's on which side. So basically, there's three sides. You have the high priest, who's the only one that's visible, right? Everyone else all their roles are secret, but the high priest is the only one that's visible. Then you have the faithful. Oh, you get the cards. There you go.
yeah.
So I got too excited.
No. That's fine. You've had to explain this a lot of times, so I have no problem with you continuing ahead, because this is you've had to explain this to a lot of people over the time that you took to develop this here. So
yeah, but it's one of those things I actually like doing. Can't say that for all games, but high priest 420 supporter. Usually the high priest is found standing on a toilet. Really bad reference. But...
there we go.
There you are. So those are the roll cards. So there's a number of cards. We'll go with the high priest. So that card, so everyone's given a hidden role, and that's kind of how you win the game, how you play the game. So the high priest will be visible, and what they do is they have to get rid of the other dissenting portions of the cult. The people who are trying to get rid of you, you have to get rid of them. You do that, you'll win the game, and you're good. So, crappy job, bro. I agree with that. So that's a high priest. So let's talk about then the Kabbalah. So you're trying to get rid of the Cabal and the heretic. So the faction that's causing the most problems is going to be the Kabbalists. What they're trying to do is they're just kind of done with your leadership. They're done with you being in charge, and they want to take charge. So their goal is to kill you. They kill you, they win the game. So in a 5-player setup, for example, you would have one high priest, and then you have 2 Kabbalists.
This is for those of you out there, this is a 4-player minimum game.
Yeah, so that's one of the downsides is I've designed some smaller versions or variants of it, but it changes the game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And these social games have a hard time going to lower player counts.
Yeah, there's a critical mass you really need to have.
I think it really does. Yeah, 100%. So the Tukabalas, they're trying to kill you. Now, you're not alone in this fight, though. There is, in your cult, a faithful. The faithful's job is to keep you alive. They keep you alive, they win the game. So they're on your team. So those are the two main sides in the game. It's the High Priest and Faithful versus the Cabal. Now, the third faction, though, is the Heretic. Their job, their goal, is to burn the whole place down. So these are the people who like to watch the world burn. They just want to blow it up. They just want to be done with it. And so what they do is they have to actually balance the scales of the win, because they win by being either the last one standing or if everyone's dead, including themselves. So either way, as long as the cult's destroyed, they're happy.
Trying to get the lighting right. This is coming through super bright, but I don't have the lights on as brightly as this camera is making it out to be here. I'm trying to show
part of it is probably the aqueous coating we have on it. It is really nice smoothness to it.
It is. Oh yeah. Actually, now that you mentioned that, so very crisp. By the way, I love the art. I don't know like who you got your art through. I'm loving it, and then you all can see here on the back. Do you see the little? There you go. Yeah, you see the little embossed symbols here?
Mm-hmm.
This is a lovely detail, by the way.
That was a lot of fun. I'm so glad that happened. That was not the original intention. It's kind of a funny story, just because we were going to emboss them and have that in the back. We thought we really wanted that to go through. So that idea was there. But originally there was artwork on those symbols. So all the symbols had kind of that that shiny brightness to it, kind of like the center symbol on the back, where it's very bright. So there was supposed to be like light coming through, and that was going to help it, react more.
Ah.
But then what happened was we were having problems with the manufacturer and them being able to precisely line up. Because once you print the card, that afterwards is like a gel that goes on top.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was not coinciding. They kept being off. And so they're like, what if we just didn't have these? And they were like, you know what? That's a really good idea. We shouldn't actually have anything on that. And so we're like, it's like secret hidden rooms.
Yeah.
That really helped. And so we ended up pulling some of the artwork out and leaving the embossing, and it just kind of like popped out. Because technically it's called UV spotting, because emboss is like the push, like where you actually punch out or press something. And on the card, you really can't do that without ruining them. So what you do is you basically put this gel, it's like a UV spot. And when it dries, it hardens a bit, but it's also super shiny.
Yeah. Oh, you said UV, and I'm like, oh, hang on, I have a UV flashlight here. The cult symbol shows up really nicely, but is that just for the curing process then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Though we have some cool dice, unfortunately, that were a special edition that are UV dice. So they're actually that's a whole nother ball of wax. We had a special 4-person where we had just Dawnbreaker dice. They handmade a set of dice for each character in the game.
Oh.
And it all got put into this nice wooden box that everything fits in. And so the Necromancer, their dice are like this black opaque, are kind of grayish looking, but they have like these green, like vapor swirls. You can see them normally, but when you put the UV on them, they are very, very bright.
Was this going back real quick too? Because you're talking about going through this process with the manufacturer and such. Was this an in-house project? Sort of out of your own pockets, or did you do a Kickstarter for some crowdsourcing, or was there is there a working with another game publisher to bring this to life?
So we are the game publisher.
Okay.
We did this. Kickstarter helps. Didn't didn't cover everything, but you can't really expect people to cover everything because these games are really expensive to make, um, especially at the height of the pandemic. But when we did it, we want to be a board game publisher. We want to do it right, and so we did everything from start to finish on this game. Um, like I was the art director. Um, I found the artists. I hired the artists, commissioned the artists. Trying to put it all together. Designed the insert, the box, the layout, everything. That was all us. So that was the BA Games team.
And this is your first game too, yes?
Yes.
What disciplines did you and the rest of the team come from then that you were able to bring each of your unique, education, vocation, just your own life experiences to put together the art, to direct the art? Are you an art director otherwise, or was this a role
No.
that you took from?
I love art. I love artwork. I'm an art collector, especially fantasy and sci-fi
Oh,
art. I love it. But I'm not an art director by trade. I'm actually I train salespeople for a living.
okay.
Is what I do, and so I have a marketing background, which helps in that regard in trying to determine creating a product and pitching the product and the overall look of the product and different things like that. But a lot of us are just passionate people who wanted to start something in the game industry.
I really appreciate that energy, and then of course the risk too that you had to go through, because this is it's not like, oh yeah, I could probably just it's like $1,000, right, to get something going to take to a local publisher. No, it there's a lot of time and a lot of money that goes in behind the scenes, because a store like this might receive a copy or a couple copies, or if it's a very big like it is a board game store in a market that absolutely sells board games, maybe you get a pack of them in. It could be like, I don't know, 4 6 or something like that.
Hmm.
But so you all out there in audience land know, even those are rookie numbers too. I mean, what your publisher Sam is not working in the, do you want us to print 10? It's the, do you want us to print 10,000? And we could talk about minimums or price breaks or things
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
So if anyone's here is interested in publishing, I'm happy to ask. If you want to ask some questions, like just pop them in chat. I'll happy to answer any questions you have about publishing or game design.
I
Um,
happen to know a woman who's interested in putting a game together, so maybe she'll have some questions.
Don't put me on the spot like that.
uh, but yeah, so this is very much a Q&A. Like I definitely want to set up the game and we'll talk about it. And Sam, it's you as the disembodied, directionless voice. It's really just Darkwolf and I here. Unfortunately, we don't have a setup at the store right now. Hopefully for future broadcasts, I can do something over on our Warhammer table where I can get another setup with like face down cameras, etc., etc. But what I'd
uh,
like you to do is to take me through the setup, and then with guide both of us to prompt. Okay, so this is what this means. Generally, this would be a consideration, and if you could take us through, a demo of the game itself, because I see this and there's like, oh, there's a lot of cards, there's a lot of tokens, there's a lot of stuff here, which is exciting, but for a first time could also be intimidating. But if we're talking this is social deduction, or the wellspring of the ideas for this game was born out of Werewolf, that's actually quite a minimalist game. And so I just would like to go from we just opened the box. Let me set this out, and you guide us through what a game could play as.
sure. Ooh, the faceless token. I like that one.
Now you said that at a minimum, right? It's a minimum 4. We have a high priest, someone who's playing the high priest.
Hmm.
We have 2 Kabbalists, correct?
Hmm. So the typical setup is a 5-player, which is a high priest, 2 cabal. There will be 1 faithful,
Okay.
and then there will be a vengeful heretic.
Okay, so this is the sweet spot. You can do 5 to 8, or I'm sorry, 4 to 8, but the sweet spot is a 5-player setup like this.
5 to 6 is probably the best for a first time because
Okay.
it's the right amount of speed and also not taking into too much complication.
Okay.
We've had people. I love 8-player. It is very chaotic. It is very fun, but you need to be aware. Like it's usually better. You have more fun if you know what's happening
Yeah.
versus at least how to play the game versus just dropped into the deep end of the pool and be like, all right, hope you can make it. Because there's a lot to consider in this game, and everything else. So, and even like the 4-player version, what it is I actually created an AI for the High Priest. So you will play as the other members of the cult, but the AI, the AI will run the High Priest until someone dies. If it's a Kabbalist, well, they'll be speak Kabbalah. But if it's a heretic or faithful who dies, they'll actually possess the High Priest and take over the character. So yeah. So your setup is you'll be given the different character roles. They'll be passed out.
Face down, though, right? Secret?
Except for the High Priest. High Priest is the only one that's not. So all the other ones will be face down. You'll also be given a character card, which are the red backs with the daggers. And what the character cards do is it's going to give you your starting health as well as your character abilities. So we actually have 2 sets of characters. We have like Sorceress 1 and Sorceress 2. Librarian 1, Librarian 2. So what we did in the game was we created for people who are newer to the genre or newer to board gaming, they may not be ready for a lot of really high player interaction.
Okay.
Outside of certain situations. So what we did is we created characters that are they're more basic, they're powerful, but they're very focused on themselves and their ability isn't really interact with other people as much. Like, for an example, there's a character who you can lose a life to gain an additional die during your turn. Right? Very basic. It's very easy. But we have other characters who are like, they're much more involved with other players and manipulating other players and messing with other players. So we kind of created 2 tiers just for players. Kind of help them out, because depending on who you're playing with, you might modify the game in order to better, able to help people. So grab a character. It can be any character you wish. I think we should do the Guardian personally. I think the Guardian's the best.
Guardian as who?
Just we'll take it to perspective as one player. Or do Guardian, do Assassin, and then you can put them anywhere you want. Let's do. Oh, thank you. If you're looking for the artist, it is Liam Peters. He's originally from Australia, now lives in Dallas, Texas.
Oh,
super nice dude. Super chill. We had a lot of fun doing this game.
The art, like the quality overall, but I will say that the cards, the looks on the cards themselves are also very distinct. So it would be very difficult to confuse. Even something similar like Astrologer and Blood Mage, they both have a book, but there's still so much different about them that everything is distinct. It has an intense color. And even as someone too, like in my private like role-playing group, one of the guys is colorblind. And so when any of us are presenting like maps or whatever for combat or to explore or something along those lines, obviously we need to be conscientious of that so that he can still come along and enjoy that. And I just from how I've had to rethink some of the things about how I describe scenes or things that I would use, everything here is very distinct, such that even for the red effect here on the Blood Mage, if the red isn't coming through as strongly for someone who has trouble with colors, this is still outstanding. Or it stands out against everything else, so it still conveys the shine, the magic, that this is a significant thing to look at, and it's not lost amid other similarly colored details. So from that aspect, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but something that I noticed having to work.
I keep looking at the cards. I'm like, man, we did a good job on those. I'm trying to toot my own horn. There's a lot of game people I like, but the artwork on this it came out really well.
It is stellar. This is very solid artwork. So your direction and the artist who you worked with for this, things are very distinct and look. It's a nice look. Everything just has its own. This is this thing. I don't know if there's really a word for it, but it's easy to tell apart in that regard. So I'm sorry. We have a guardian and assassin. Now, are these cards that I'm pulling out? Like these are the assassin. If I put it here with the Kabbalist is the role, but the character playing the role is the assassin. Or are these cards that are being set out for something else?
So I'm just going to give you. I'm going to walk through a few turns and kind of like the interactions that can happen in the game.
Sure.
So let's grab the merchant 1.
Okay.
All right. And let's go ahead and grab alchemist. And then let's just grab. Let's grab sorceress. That sounds fun.
Sorceress. All right.
Sorceress is really interesting. She's actually based on a cosplayer.
Oh.
So when we were in the process of developing this game, there was a time where I wasn't sure we were actually going to make it because I had just gotten back from a proto spiel in Omaha. And we just had the game just got ripped apart. Like pretty much the consensus was this game is terrible. Why did you even make this game? I don't see any value in this game. Like it just got torn apart really badly by a lot of different people. And the consensus was just trash it and do another game. So, which funny enough, those same people 2 years later are like, this game's pretty good. So, but so at the time, like I was really teetering because you're a creator, you're trying to make something happen, but it can cause these issues. So, anyways, there's a cosplayer by the name of Mandy Pursley. She's from Be the Spark Cosplay. So she is a born amputee, and she hand makes all of her cosplay.
Oh.
So she's really known at San Diego Comic-Con. She's the one with the Cinderella with the glass arm. So she did a whole Cinderella dress she made, but instead of a glass slipper, she has a glass arm. That plays into character. And then she does a lot of other stuff too. Like she's awesome. She has so many cool cosplays. And she does them all by hand, and it's pretty amazing. And so at the time, she's like, you know what? Like, and I read a lot of her blog, some of her blog posts and stuff, and she's like, you can do it. Like, whatever, who cares? Just do you. And I was like, you know what? All right. So because of that, it kind of helped me push to getting the game done. And finishing it and really testing it out with people, and people really enjoying themselves playing the game. And so, and I enjoyed it. And so those two things together, we decided, you know what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna try. So, in kind of appreciation, what we did, we're like, Mandy, you don't know who I am, but we want to put you in our board game. And that kind of sparked a friend. We're friends now. She's really cool, and so she actually designed the dress and designed the character. I kind of did a lot of stuff around it. So actually, if you look in the back of her card, there's a Cinderella dress behind her.
Oh, yep. Right there. It's.
So that's actually her Cinderella dress she made. We just put it in the back in the shop window. And so she actually created the look of the character, and we're like, and she really liked the idea of being a sorceress or a magic user. And so we created this character who has this powerful arm that she uses as kind of like a focus or something that she uses, and so she became the sorceress character. And so she loved it. And so she actually at Gen Con 2 years ago, she actually came and cosplayed at our booth for a while as the sorceress. She actually made the cosplay of it.
That's neat.
So she's cosplaying a character that she designed. So we call it cosception. You cosplay the cosplay. So if you have a chance, check it out. Be the Spark cosplay. She has got some cool, amazing stuff, and I just find her to be inspiring in general. So whenever I feel down on myself, I just kind of go over to her blog and her positivity and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, we got this. She's cool. So all right, so yeah, once you have your roles of kind of how you're gonna play the game, which they're all secrets from the High Priest, you'll be given a character, and you'll also be given the number of character. You usually the tokens are that's how much life you start off with. So it's 1, and if you flip it over, it's 5. And so you'll start your tokens. You'll grab some tokens. That's what you'll start with. And then once you have those tokens, you'll also be given a purple card. That has got like a swirl on the back of it. And that is called a sigil card. And what sigils are a once per game superpower is what it is. So once per game, you can do something really, really cool from your power. So depending on what it is, like some of them steal health from people. Others allow you to redirect dice. Others allow you to make them reroll their dice or do different things or destroy a ritual in the game. And so they're all really powerful in their own right. So everyone will get one of those, which we won't get into that, but just know that those exist. All right. So once you have a ship out, that'll be face down, and it's a once per game use. So once you use it, you'll flip it over, and it's done.
And those are randomized as well, so the sorceress doesn't have the same one of, or the sorceress always gets the same one of.
So they'll always have their own power, which can be used every turn a lot of times or every round. And then you'll give a sigil, which is separate from the character. So really what happens is you get 3 cards. You get your role, how to win, the character you're playing as, and kind of your style of playing. And then you'll get a sigil, which is a once per game power that can modify your strategy. And that's where for us, we liked it because it provides a lot of replayability. Because one game I'd be playing the Guardian as a High Priest, but maybe I play Guardian again, but I'll be playing Cabal, and I'll also have a different sigil power than I did last time. So I have 2 other cards that are making my way of playing different, and spicing up. And there's there's a Guardian 2 as well, which is a different take on Guardian. So there's a lot of replayability in the game just because there's different combinations, and other characters will interact with other characters differently. And there's actually some combos in the game that are kind of hidden. It's kind of fun. So,
all right. So we have our roles. We have our characters with their life tokens, and each of them has a sigil.
Mm-hmm. All right. So this is gonna be the tough part. So now so every player has 3 cards. There's also a reference card that for each player, which you'll be able to have. So when you're learning the game, or if you have anyone new, On one side, it tells you the order of phases, and the other side tells you about special resources. So you'll always follow this phase pattern, no matter what. You'll always just run the list, do the thing. So you always roll your dice first. You can roll up to 3 times total. You then commit those dice to other players or rituals. There's a response phase, which allows other players to respond, which is usually like character powers, certain sigils, or certain resources you've gained in the game allow you to respond to things. And then there's a resolve step where you go through and start resolving things. So you do that every time, every player, no matter what. You just follow the list, do the stuff, you're good to go. And then it also tells you what the different dice mean. So the core of the game is you're taking 5 dice during your turn, and you're going to roll them up to 3 times. You can keep certain dice. You can then re-roll them later. You're not locked in. So those different dice do different things. So daggers allow to stab people. If it's a double dagger, it's 2 damage instead of 1 damage from a single dagger. If it's blood, you can give life to anyone. And the other symbols can be used for yourself to gain life, or they can be used for rituals. So that's one of the major differences in the game is not only are you trying to stab people or heal people or whatever, there's these rituals that are happening in the center of the board that are allowing for some interesting play in different things.
That's what these altars here are, correct? I see they're marked 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes. So what happens is in a up to 6 players, you'll run 3 boards, and on 7 and 8 players, you'll run 4 boards. So in this case, kind of go through a turn, a really easy turn, for example. If you can grab the ritual deck, which is kind of that bluish green.
Oh, yeah. And let me get these. I want to get these out on camera as well. So we have 3 rituals for our.
If you do just 2, that'll be perfect,
sure.
or even just 1. It'll allow me to walk it through the game and kind of how it functions.
All right, and then it's this deck with the eye on it, or
yep.
No? Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So that's the cult symbol. Oh, well, a side note, if you look at all the characters, all of them have that symbol somewhere in their card.
Oh, all right, yeah.
In the picture.
Or wait,
but if you look in the artwork, so that's the symbol of the cult. And so in every character has that symbol somewhere on the actual artwork.
Oh,
so
okay.
For the sorceress, for example, she actually has it as a chain on the side. And then the guardian has it around her neck.
Oh, yeah, I see it on the necklace there.
Mm-hmm. And so...
Okay. Go ahead with what you're saying. That was an okay to... I see what was...
So, yeah, that's just a little thing we put in just for fun.
It's how we can tell that we're all in the cult from the normies in town.
Mm-hmm.
To see, but it's the bookmark in your book.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the card will.
Yep.
Oh, kind of. Oh, yeah, there it is.
There it is.
If you all see that little golden bookmark there.
Yep.
Very fun little detail. I like that.
We had way too much fun in this artwork.
All right, so I have the deck here, and then we have 2 out. Though, if you all were playing at home with this many, you'd have a third ritual out.
Yeah. So let's grab Sea Hydra, because
Okay.
that's so flip the deck over. We're gonna go ahead and find a few cards to make it to show off the gameplay.
Okay, here's the Sea Hydra.
Right there it is. Yep. So put that on 1.
Okay. And
all right.
What else?
And let's grab Sirens.
Sirens. Okay. Y'all can see that out there. If the camera will cooperate, come on now. There we are. So the Sea Hydra and the Sirens have been placed on the altars or in the.
So normally these boards would be in the center of the board, and that's where kind of everyone has access to them. So now you're going to take the red cubes, and you're going to place them into the little squares of the board. So each ritual will have 2 red cubes.
Is that in the box or that?
What are you?
The red cubes.
Red. They were in the box.
Okay. Oh.
You moved the box. The red cubes are here.
Excellent.
All right, and I'm sorry. Can you say again how those are placed?
So each ritual will get 2, and they're placed based on number of players. So this is a 5-player game. So you're going to put the cubes into the 5 slot on each row.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Sirens only has 1 symbol on it. So the top row will be a 5, and the bottom row will be a 0 because there's no symbol there.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
So when you do the rituals, when you're looking at them, you'll see that some have 2 symbols on the bottom right, and some only have 1.
You want to hold it up on the camera because the glare is blocking the. Like, just tilt the card up so that they can see before it disappears. So if you all see where there's that would be the top row on the card, and there's nothing else down
that's
here.
top row. And so when you place them on the board, they line up with the rows. That one's got 2 rows. That's only got 1. You're good. All right. So let's go through this.
That's coming from unfortunately, the one that's right above us.
So for example, if you're playing an 8-player game, the cubes would be at 8. If you played 7-player, then it'd be at 7. So the rituals scale a little bit based on number of players.
Okay.
All right. So once you got that, go ahead and grab 5 dice. We'll get this started.
5 of the D6s or these D4s?
The D6s.
All right.
5d6. Ready.
Yeah, I like the glitter on them.
All right, we need 5.
And just because anyone's asking, this is just a retail version. This is what comes in the retail version of the game.
Yeah, and for everything you all are seeing here, all the dice and the cubes, the dice bags, all these cards with beautiful art. This is currently available for stores near you to order, or if you happen to want to do business with a store in Ohio. I happen to know a guy. But this has a MSRP of $45.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, MSRP of $45.
Which, in my opinion, is it's a hell of a deal for all the content you're getting, especially with the replayability you're saying is baked into this game.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Daly. Welcome. All right, so we have our 5d6. Our players now. I'm going to presume. Well, wait. Does our role would stay hidden to everyone else unless you're playing the High Priest? Does the and we don't want people to know our sigils, so this is hidden as well. Do we show if we're the alchemist or sorceress, or?
Yes. So your character is known. Whether the alchemist, the sorceress, whoever it is, everyone knows who you are. Like in terms of that, you're the merchant, or you're.
That's
the
right.
Your character is known. Your role is known.
Yeah. So our day job, everyone in town is okay. Yeah, you're the merchant in town. You're the alchemist. Okay, I got it. Very cool.
But no one knows what you're really shooting for.
Yeah. All right.
So
now we're playing with everything revealed, so you all can see. So I'm sorry. So go ahead and take us through a turn then.
All right. So what's going to happen is you would Theoretically, you would start with the high priest, but yeah, let's go there. So, high priest always starts. They gain additional life at the beginning of the game. So at the very top of the top of the text of the high priest, it says, "Begin the game based on the number of Kabbalists, you gain extra life." So in the very beginning of the game, because there's 2 Cabal in the player count, you would gain additional 6 life. So you start at a higher health pool than everyone else.
Up to our max of what we can.
No. So what you have right there is just your starting amount. So you can go above that if you wish.
And this is going to predicate that we may not know who the Kabbalist is, but beforehand we discussed that we want to have 2 Kabbalists in the possible pool. So that way we know that there's going to be 6 until one is revealed or killed, right?
Yeah. So like we're playing a 5-player game. 5-player game says 1 high priest, 2 Cabal, 1 faithful, and the heretic is vengeful. If it was a 6-player game, the Cabal would be 3 Cabal members instead of 2, and there would be the heretic instead of being vengeful would become repentant, which the reason why there's a vengeful repentant is based on when they die, because even if you're dead, you're still playing the game. It will just become a wraith or a ghost, and you'll start haunting people. And you can still win the game though, because you have a faction that you're supporting and a part of. So we'll get to that. So in this case, the high priest is the guardian, which I think starts with 17. And so then you would gain an additional 6, so you'd be at 23 health.
Okay. Done?
Done and done. All right, so let's go ahead and take just 5 dice and let's roll them.
Yep, I'll leave that to you. You got a little bit more room over there.
I'm gonna move this altar down.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, right there. Perfect. Beautiful. Oh, okay. So the fates are telling you that you want to stab people today. You know what? Well, let's get violent today. So let's take one of the double daggers and just put it to the left. Let's not re-roll those. Let's leave that one open. And then let's also let's keep the star-looking symbol and the parchment symbol. Yeah. And then let's re-roll those other 2. Let's see what we get here.
How many times can we re-roll?
So you have 2 re-rolls. So you have a total of 3 rolls. So that was roll 1. We have 2 more rolls. Oh, there's a blood and a single. So this is actually a really good roll to kind of show the game. So we're gonna stop it there. This is perfect. Let's go with this. This is great. All right. So now once you've rolled your dice, you could roll again, and if you rolled, you could also roll what you kept. So you could roll all 5 dice again. So you're not locked in until the very final roll.
Okay.
All right. Once you've rolled, now it's time to commit the dice. So now you're gonna be like, okay, you know that the alchemist hasn't been the most kind to me as of late, so I think they've been kind of rude. So we're gonna put the double dagger on the alchemist. Yep.
And everyone, this would be where you could role play, or this gets into the whole, okay, you're wearing the red t-shirt to a game of werewolf, so pick on the person in red. This is now you are coming up with a story, have fun, lean into it. Bully your friends because they owe you, I don't know, a cheeseburger or something. So you're gonna stab them and get it back.
So in the beginning, you try to find reasons, but what's gonna happen though is after you start playing the game, you're going to start seeing people's behavior, because the dice tell a story, and that can be manipulated for good or bad, depending on what you're doing here. So for example here, so let's go ahead and take the swirly star symbol and the parchment. We're going to put that on the Hydra.
Okay.
Okay.
I see.
And then let's we're a little selfish today. So let's go ahead and keep the blood on ourselves. Or you know what? You know what? Better yet, we're gonna give the blood to the merchant. That's what we're gonna do.
Oh, okay.
Because the merchant has an ability that I want him to use. And then let's take the single dagger and let's stab the sorceress. That sounds fun.
Okay. Done.
All right. So that's kind of so you roll phase. This is with the commit phase. So you're taking your dice and you're putting them out to where you want to do it. Now you have what's called a response phase. And so in the response phase, what you're doing is allowing people then to interact with you at this point in time. So, for example, we gave a blood to the merchant because we want a favor. The merchant has an ability that during the turn, they can turn a single dagger into a double dagger.
Ah.
Now, so I'm like, merchant, I'm giving this blood in hopes that you're going to turn that that 1 damage on sorceress, was going to turn it to 2.
Yeah, like, hey, the high priest is asking a favor. Did you solid? Could you?
Give me a little love here. And so he's like, all right, yeah. Stack of magic is a beautiful thing. So he's like, okay, I'll turn into a double dagger. You're like, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Now, he could say no and just keep the blood for himself and whatever. But you know what? I ain't doing that. Or he could say, yeah, sure, and then just never does it. So contracts in the game are not binding.
Okay.
In that regard.
Yeah.
So he did me a solid. He turned into a double. Now, I could be a jerk. So in the response phase, if a die is changed, I could redirect it now. So you changed a 1 to a 2. I'm like, you know what? You're right, merchant. You hesitated too much. So then you take the double dagger from the sorceress, and you can now stab the merchant with it.
Using what?
So when a die is changed, you can recommit it.
Oh, okay.
So
because
that die was changed, we could literally backstab the merchant.
Yep.
Okay.
You're like, you're a jerk. You waited too long. He's like, but I did it. Like, don't care.
You didn't do it fast enough.
Yeah, depending on what you did. Or you'd be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You're a good person. We'll just keep stabbing away. So that's what's going to happen there.
Okay, so we move the double dagger from the sorceress to the merchant. And I can see in the social deduction as well, you assign the initial dagger to the sorceress, and you can watch the player who's piloting the sorceress watch the expression as the single dagger turns to the double dagger, and evaluate it in what happens when you move the double dagger to the merchant instead. And if not facial expressions, maybe the role playing back, or the tone of the voice, or the body language as well.
Yep. And that's where you can really manipulate people. Not only because the dice matter now. So now what's going to happen is the alchemist has an ability, and they're like, I know you're stabbing me. That's fine, but I'm going to give you a dice anyway. So the alchemist's ability is once per turn, every turn, they can give someone, if they want, a die. And it can be either the pyramid symbol or the parchment symbol. So there has to be one of those faces. And so, you know what? My life for the cause, I want to give you a die. It's going to be a parchment die. So you would give a parchment die to the high priest, and then they're allowed to commit it wherever they wish.
Okay.
So in this case, they'll maybe commit to the Hydra with the extra die they got from the alchemist.
Now, in so doing, is that... because I presume it would completely undermine the game if you go like, hey, I'm being really faithful, wink, to you, High Priest.
You can do that all you want, but you cannot reveal your card. You can never reveal your role until you're dead.
Okay.
I mean, in a way, that could be the Kabbalist being like, look how faithful I am.
See, like, you're stabbing me, but, like, I am your faithful. That guy over there, no. He hesitated. You're right. That guy's a jerk.
Okay.
Totally throw them under the bus.
So yeah, wink, nod, and you can say whatever you want. Just don't reveal the role that you have.
You cannot physically reveal your role.
Okay.
Because there must always be a questionable or a doubt on what the person's actually telling the truth.
Yep. Okay. So then the high priest commits the scroll from the scroll from the alchemist over here to the sea hydra.
Yep. And so at that point, you would ask for any other responses. Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. So if no one responds, you just cut and you move on. All right, so now you move into the resolves phase. And so technically you resolve these one by one. And so, for example, I may start with the merchant and be like, all right, you gain a life, but now you lose 2 life.
Okay. So then we'll remove 1 blood token ultimately.
Correct.
Okay.
So you remove 1.
And then we take the dice off?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the assassin has an ability that happens during the resolve phase. If someone has lost a life, they may lose 1 to have that person lose 2 additional life.
Ooh.
So they're like, you know what? Yeah, you're right, High Priest. That guy did hesitate. We should totally stab him. And so the assassin will then remove 1 life token and remove 2 more from the merchant.
Okay.
Perfect. Yep. And then it's like, whoa, that's messed up, bro. Why are you doing like that?
I can already hear the table banter, and also like Commander is the most popular Magic format in the meta of the store here. So of course, all the banter, the table talk, the politicking, in that sort of thing. Especially if someone brings like a group hug deck where like you're not meaning to win, but you're going to make it really tough for people to lose if they don't jockey you. So I'm very used to like I'm auto-populating conversation in my head right now.
So the thing to remember is the Kabbalists don't know that each other are Kabbalists. Those are face down. So they don't know. And currently the assassin is playing as a faithful or at least a heretic. And so, like, yeah, screw that guy. And so what are you going to do as a Kabbalist? Like, do you try and call him out? Or do you go, man, there you go. All right. And so now you move on. And you start resolving some more. So maybe the alchemist will lose 2. But maybe you feel bad as the guardian, as the high priest. So what you can do is the guardian has the opposite of the assassin ability. They can remove 1 life to prevent 2 to someone.
Okay.
So maybe the high priest is like, that sucks. All right, so I'll lose 1 life. I'll prevent 2 to the alchemist. Maybe they're my friend.
All right.
So that die would then go away. So the Guardian is interesting because you can politic favor, or even you're like, hey, give me some blood and I'll block for you. Like, you can get some really interesting politicking happening with the Guardian.
Real quick, Joker Blah, hello and welcome to you. You said it reminds you of Avalon. Joker, if you or anyone else have any questions, by the way, we are speaking with one of the developers of this game. So if there's a mechanic that you'd like to see or be explained, or if there's a comparison, please ask. You can chat in chat about this. If it reminds you of something, if you say, "Oh, does it work like this?" This is very much an interactive demo to you all, like through us to you. So please don't be afraid to ask questions or make commentary. If things remind you of something else as well, hey, bring it up, because for many of us, that might be a mnemonic device where we go, oh, I get it now. Maybe I was having trouble with this mechanic, but I see how X is like Y in this game, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Avalon's a great game. That's my favorite of, one of my favorites of that whole voting system. I really like Avalon. All right, we ready?
Yep. So we removed the 1 token and we took away the 2 daggers.
Okay. So there's 3 dice left, and these are on the Hydra. The Hydra has 2 symbols on it. And those symbols go to rituals. Rituals have a few things on them. Number one, they have what's called the altar ability. So while that ritual is on the altar board, it has an effect. And every time you put a dice towards it and you move on the tracker, you will get that effect for every die on there. So in this case, you would move. I'll just choose a living player to gain or lose 1 life. You're paying out the Hydra to go attack someone. So what's going to happen then is you would move the star symbol track down by 1 and the parchment track down by 2.
Okay.
And so then you do the altar ability 3 times. So maybe what I do is I gain 2 life, 1 for the lost I did for the alchemist and 1, for a little extra sugar on top. And maybe I say, assassin, you're a little too eager for my taste. Why don't you lose an additional 1?
Okay, and so when you say I, you mean as the high priest? So we're
Yes.
adding 2 to you as high priest, and then we are
And then-
removing 1 from the assassin as a little punishment. Like, hey, keep stuff in line.
Hey, I'll punish the merchant. You don't get involved.
Okay.
Or vice versa. Or maybe you give the assassin life because, like, hey, dude, you just you lost some life. Here, I'll give you 3 life. Right?
Yes.
So the combination. So that would be your turn. You would then pass the dice to the next player. They would go, and you would just repeat that again and again. So maybe the assassin's next. You do the same thing. You roll through it and do the stuff. Now, back to the Hydra.
Yes.
There we go. So let's talk about rituals for a second here. So let's pretend that So let's move the star tracker down to 1 and the parchment tracker down to 2. All right. So, and let's pretend on the dice we have 2 parchment and 1 star symbol on the Hydra. So let's say it was the high priest turn still, right? And this is where it was at situation wise.
Okay.
And you would do this. So you'd move the star down 1 and the parchment down twice. So you'd do the same thing. Choose a player. Maybe I say, sorceress, lose 3 because I haven't heard from you, or whatever combination you do that. So you would do that like normal. But now both trackers are at 0. When they're both at 0, and it's my dice that completed the ritual, I now own that ritual. The Hydra is mine. So what'll happen is you'll remove the Hydra and put it into your player area because it has what's called a keeper ability. So now, whenever I roll dice during my roll phase, I roll 2 additional dice, and then I will then lose 1. So what happens is I'm rolling 7 dice, but I'm keeping 6.
Okay.
So as long as I had the Hydra with me, I am now rolling more dice. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's go murder some.
All right, so all the stabs.
Yeah, wow,
That's what goes here.
things just escalated really quickly with the high priest. But you get a sea hydra and you go on a murder spree.
Yeah, it happens. So that's what rituals can do is they give you, if they have a keeper ability, you can keep them. As long as you're the one that finished it, you keep it. Doesn't matter what anyone else put beforehand. It's whoever finishes it.
Okay.
I agree, Bane. Only matter if it wasn't justified. As a high priest, you are always justified.
Does this get replenished, or are there only 3 for the game that can be floated?
So it gets
out?
replenished. So you would pull the next one out. I think we should pull out the Kraken because that's the main image on the front of the box.
Roll credits.
Super fun monster to design. All right, so then so both rows then would go back to 5.
Okay.
All right. So Kraken would come out, good to go. Now the Kraken is kind of unique. they don't have an alter ability. Right? Anything you put on the Kraken doesn't do anything with the Kraken ability. Release Dagon.
Yeah.
Which we've even told that he would make a great Dagon in some of the Cthulhu campaigns that we've had. Anyways, so he's an alter ability. So anything you put on him doesn't do anything. But whoever keeps him now controls Kraken dice. So what's going to happen is the Kraken is just pissed by being woken up. So what he's going to do is he's going to start grabbing people and start hurting them. So in the box, there should be some D4s.
Indeed.
So we call those Kraken dice.
These are also sparkly.
Yes, indeed. You can't tell we're obsessed with bling. And shiny.
Look, know your audience. We're a bunch of dice goblins. You know, we like the shiny click-clack math rocks. Pander to us. The embossing.
I may have played in a few goblin campaigns.
All right, so the Kraken dice have been released here. Super readable, not only just with the little sparkles, but like super bright silver with some nice large numbers against the dark. All right, the Kraken dice are out.
So what happens is when he comes out, he finds the most quote unquote most powerful player. So in this case, whoever has the most life.
That's the priest.
So
yep,
and that unfortunately is the high priest. So what happens is that D4 would then go to the high priest. And what happens is whenever it's the high priest's turn, they're going to roll that die. And when they roll it, that's how much life they lose.
Oh.
And the die cannot be removed unless the Kraken is either destroyed temporarily, because he'll go back into the bottom of the deck and then he'll come back to haunt you again and murder everyone. Or if someone takes control of the Kraken, they then have control on who gets the dice and who doesn't keep their dice. So that's a permanent D4 that whenever it's your turn, you're going to lose that much health. And so as the game progresses, what it will do is you'll grab more and more people. So next time it's the high priest turn, what will happen is you'll roll that, and then the people with the next highest health. So in this case, we have the sorceress with 18. We have the assessment fit. So in this case, it'd be the sorceress would get one. Now, if let's say the alchemist had 2 more life, so they were both 18.
Okay.
Then they would both get one.
So the Kraken is a very indiscriminate force.
It's just going to start grabbing people who are most powerful and then hurt them, and then it's just to keep doing it until it's stopped. So the Kraken, unless it's stopped, is just going to eventually kill everyone because they'll stack. So once everyone has one, it'll then look for the person with the highest health again. And so in that case, it'll like, oh, the high priest, you're still the highest. You now have 2d4. So every time it's your turn, you'll roll 2d4, and that's how much life you'll lose every turn.
How is this Kraken defeated then?
So you either have there's a sigil that can temporarily get rid of them, that put them back down into the deck, or you become the keeper. So if say someone took control of the Kraken, they may say, "All right, I take control of the Kraken, and High Priest, I'm your faithful. I'm going to remove the dice from you."
Oh, okay, all right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was I had a disconnect where it was the D4s are, as soon as this is revealed, this is hitting everyone until someone becomes the keeper and can control it.
Yep.
And so the race is on. If you reveal the Kraken, you want to summon it as soon as possible to assert that control over it. I got it. All right, that
or you might be
the circuit for me.
Or you might be the heretic and want everyone to die anyways. So sure, let it rampage.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Oh yeah. So in which case, if you have a way to sabotage, to like change dice, are there ways to change the dice to bring it out? To swap these out if someone commits dice
So
to.
there'll be different things like I think it's Sigil of Dominance. You can take 3 dice and change their symbols, and they now count as your dice for the sake of the ritual.
Ah.
And you choose who gains the altar effects, and you can choose the keeper of it. Which is side note, even if you're dead, you don't lose your sigils. You can still use them after you're dead.
That was, and I'm sure we can cover that in the mechanics here. That was something that I really liked that you brought up, especially in comparison to something like Werewolf, where in Werewolf, if you're the person who gets voted off because you wore the red T-shirt round 1, and you're either at a con and there's like 20 people in the circle, or even in a group of friends, you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to indicate, you sit there. Or you walk away and, I don't know, go get a hot dog or something because you're done. I do like that you have a mechanic where everyone can stay involved in the game until the game actually ends. And it's not just, all right, well, cool. Y'all ganged up on me and now I don't get to do anything.
So like let's go through a death sequence then. So let's move the Hydra over to the Faithful, to the Alchemist.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's pretend that the Alchemist dies. So it loses all their life tokens.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, if they haven't used their sigil yet, that will stay in play.
Oh my God.
They'll lose the Kraken dice. Because they no longer can, be affected by Kraken dice because they're dead. What'll happen is they'll flip their roll over, which, I'm the Faithful, you jerk.
Oh, right, because this would have been, it would have looked like this to everyone else.
Yeah.
So then you reveal, aha, well.
I was the Faithful. Now, whoever killed you gains your rituals. So if you had the Hydra, and maybe the High Priest knows you're faithful, but they don't want anyone else to get your rituals. They may kill you just so that they get the Hydra.
That's clever. I like that.
In fact, he may even ask them to kill you. So then the Hydra then would go over to the High Priest.
Okay.
All right. And then you would take a Wraith card, which are the gray backs over there above Ritual 1. There are 3 different Wraiths, but they're all essentially variants of a similar idea. And what it is you're going to haunt people. Malice, Envy, and Wrath. All right, so let's use Envy for example.
Okay.
So you would put that over the top of your character card, and then you would immediately gain 3 red dice. Now they could be blue.
Over Alchemist, so Alchemist becomes Envy, or over Faithful?
Over Alchemist.
Okay.
So you're still faithful. You're just exposed and dead.
Okay.
The red dice are in the.
Oh. You can show them off.
It would make some pretty sweet spirit tokens, actually. Yeah, they totally would. Actually, now I think about it. All right, so you gotta grab 3 red dice. So what's going to happen is when you die, you immediately gain 3 dice that show the symbols on the card. So in this case, it'd be I think it's a double dagger, a parchment, and a pyramid. Yep, perfect. Yeah, so you guys are wondering, I believe there are 12 or 13 of the blue dice, and there's 18 red dice. The reason why we have 18 is because in an 8-player game, which we've had before, there's been 6 dead people.
Yeah.
So we had 6 wraiths involved. which gets really fun. I enjoy it. Because this is what the Wraith does. So if we're pretending it's the, let's say it's the assassin's turn, and we're pretending that maybe they're stabbing the high priest with like 2 double daggers.
Okay.
So maybe he's doing that and doing other stuff. So now that's commit phase. He's good. We go to the response phase. We go to the response phase. This is where the wraiths really shine. So Envy has an ability that once per turn, they can replace a die with one of their own because they're envious. And so what happens is maybe you say, you know what? We're going to take my parchment die from the alchemist, or the former alchemist, not a wraith. We're going to replace the double dagger with a parchment.
Okay.
So the double dagger would go away, and then now it's a parchment symbol. And so now the assassin, in this case, now has to recommit that parchment symbol somewhere if they can. Now, if they can't, it's just a dead die. You can't do anything.
Okay. So
yeah,
this would be
this would
this would go over to like the sirens then, right? Because they have a parchment tracker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they go over to something with the sirens. They have a parchment or whatever. So that's what wraiths do. They can only do it once per turn, but in the response phase, they can mess with dice. So Envy basically replaces dice with one of their own. They're like, I want that. I'll give you this crap I don't want.
I presume if that was enough to complete the siren ritual, that it would belong to the assassin, or would it go to the envious wraith?
Yeah. So Joker, but the wraith double dagger. The idea is you take it, but you don't actually take it. If that makes sense. You could just put the die over on your side of the board, and you always have 3 dice. That totally is fine. Because the red dice and blue dice are exactly the same. They're just different colors. In order to help people sometimes walk through all the different actions and reactions that are happening. Especially when you have like multiple wraiths happening and multiple abilities, it can get real spicy. So, but in essence, you would hit a die. Now, you can't use a die. So a wraith only has 3 chances every round.
Yeah.
So the assassin goes, is good. Now, maybe you respond during the next player and the next player. And then you're out. But during your turn, you'll take your 3 dice and you'll roll them 3 times, like a normal player would. But you only have 3 dice. And then but the difference is you can't commit to anything or do anything else. You still can't do anything other than have those dice. So you'll keep those dice then for the next round, so that you'll respond during other players' turns.
Okay, so the dice are only fixed on the first turn that you spawn. And
so
from
for
there
example,
you can roll into it.
The reason for that is, say you just went, right? The sorceress goes, and the sorceress kills you. Well, you can't do anything then for 3 or 4 rounds, right? Because you don't have a character ability anymore, or anything else. So what we do is the race get involved immediately. So you immediately get 3 dice with a certain face on it. Instead of having you roll them, you just get these ones. That's a good start. This is what you're doing. You're involved. And get you into the game, right back into the game.
Okay.
So that's Envy. Wrath, for example, is a wraith. They also replace, but no matter what they roll, it will always be daggers. And whenever they roll a single dagger, it'll turn into a double dagger. So they have a 1 in 3 or 2 out of 6 chance to get double daggers, and everything else is single daggers. It must be daggers, always daggers.
Stab.
When you die, this is a wraith that is drawn from a shuffled pile, or do you get to choose which type of wraith you become?
First game, we kind of just have a shuffle pile, but later, we encourage people technically to just pick one that they want to play as. The third one is Malice. What Malice can do is they can either add a die or take away a die. So they can be like, you know what, I'm just going to give you a double dagger to go use. Or they can take away a double dagger, or they can take away a blood, or whatever it may be. So there's 3 different variants that do different things. Wrath is all about damage and doing more damage usually. They can mitigate some damage because you can turn a double into a single dagger. But the other ones are much more... They're a little trickier. Malice is probably the best bonus, straight up, in terms of just getting another die. But Envy can be the most tricky because you can turn stuff into other symbols, which then have to go somewhere, which can then go somewhere else. So Envy I find to be the most fun for experienced players.
I can't help but feel that there's a moral lesson to this game. And that's please don't join a cult because it's terrible.
It's a lot of fun though. See, it's fun having your friends and stuff. It's great.
And so play continues until the win condition is met for who has it.
Mm-hmm. Now, we also talk about what's important is so the faithful can still win. So as long as the high priest stays alive, the faithful and high priest both win.
Okay.
If a cabal dies, they can still win as long as the high priest dies, and as long as you're having a cabal. Now, if both cabal die, there's a problem, right? Because they can't kill the high priest of the cabal.
Mm.
They have a special ability. I think it's called. Is it called Grave Vengeance?
Grave Vengeance.
Yeah. Yeah. So what that boils down to is they are no longer Kabbalist. They are effectively Team Heretic. Burn it all to the ground. We don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So the Heretic will actually now have allies directly on his team because the Cabal will now be Team Heretic. Now, if the High Priest happens to die before the Heretic can win, Cabal will also win without the Heretic, but very rare does that happen. But occasionally it happens. Yes.
Yep, the ultimate takedown, right? It can bring down mobsters and it can bring down high priests of cults.
Mm-hmm. So, was it the Joker from Batman? He's like, Batman I can deal with, the IRS. Yeah. No, never screw over the IRS.
Is there any way for the faithful to find out who the high priest is? Or it's already revealed, Joker.
So high priest is the only one that starts revealed. Everyone else is hidden. But that gives you a lot of information as you play because you know the high priest is who the high priest is. It's harder on the high priest. So the high priest has the information that they know, I'm the high priest, but they don't know anyone else is. Thing is, the faithful, you know that you're the faithful, and you know the high priest is the high priest. And so you know that everyone else is not really your friends. Heretic could be your friend, depending on time of day, but Cabal are not your friends. And so you know that. Problem is the high priest doesn't. So you have to try and convince the high priest that you're the friend and they're not. But if you do that, the Cabal and Heretic may kill you. And then you may be a little less, not as strong as you would normally be. And so you're still supporting with a Wraith, but Cabal bringing snacks, then frick, I want them to be high priest.
With your experience in having taught this game to a lot of different people, have you found that for those who are new to the game, they rely more on the board game mechanics where it's more a game about manipulating the dice than necessarily it is the social back and forth? Or especially in maybe a more impersonal environment, like, oh, it's a bunch of randos at a con. I don't have in-jokes or a rapport with anyone, so they play by the dice. Like, they play by ROLL playing more than ROLE.
Yeah, it's real interesting to watch people play this game. Because we've had all types. It's actually been fairly popular among Magic players. Because the idea of responses... They immediately get it. They're like, oh, stat, got it. No need to explain more. And so it really helps really they catch on real quickly to the idea of a response phase, and asking your opponent to go. And they're also not shy about, got anything? No? All right, moving on with life.
Yeah.
Board gamers sometimes can be a bit slow and be like, I don't want to rush anybody.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. So I find Magic players stick to it, especially Magic players who play, what is it? It's called Kingdoms, I think. It's a variant of Commander, where you play Commander decks, but you play the roles kind of like this, where you have like an Emperor or King, and you have like the support and stuff. And so it's a similar hidden role idea. So
was that part of the game design, or is that just more of a happy accident that you noticed in people's natural interaction? They just sort of filtered into these different categories, or like a broad set of behaviors per other background. It
wasn't intended at all. Part of it is just my background. Like, I've played a lot of Magic. I used to play competitive Magic. Not that I was like, really that good. I won a few local like PTQs, but nothing great. When I went, I was terrible and got like last place.
You still win.
Mono red for the win. That's all that matters.
Oh, hang on. This game makes so much more sense now that you said that. Absolutely. All right, I got you. I'm on to you.
I'm a huge fan of order, for the most part. So, huge fan. So Magic players tend to catch on to the mechanics very quickly. Werewolf players, the social players, role players, they just get into the role-playing aspect of like, oh man, I'm the high priest. I have now bequeathed to the law that this must happen. And like, you are a heretic.
Yeah.
And they really get into heresy. And it's really great. And these people start throwing each other under the bus, and it's just so wonderful to watch and behold. I absolutely love it. And I find board gamers are the ones like the Euro players. They cling to the lifeline that is the mechanics of the game.
Okay.
A lot of times, and it's not a bad thing. That's why I designed it this way, because it allows you to use those dice, and you can use them straightforward. But you also could just lie with them. Because if I'm a Kabbalist and I give the high priest a blood, even if it's only one blood in the beginning, he may think twice about killing me in the future just because I showed some, some he's trying to help me out. Like, and maybe later on you totally stab him with 12 damage, but, whatever. So that's what the game's about. Is the dice are a medium by which you can craft your story or your lie or your ability to win the game. So it's more than just mechanics. It's how you use them matters. And also, which means it can be with people who are not familiar with the game. Sometimes it can be very obvious who they are. Sometimes because they're very obvious with their dice choices, and they're not playing up the manipulation aspects to it.
Yeah.
But all it takes is one person to throw everything off. Because if they're not playing the role that they're supposed to, it throws everyone's role into doubt on who the actual person is.
Something else I noticed, because going back to the pool of friends locally, it's something that we sit down and discuss where we have preferences of games of luck versus games of skill. And among the friend group, it's really everywhere. Like, one of my friends wants to minimize luck as much as possible. Just absolutely, like, not that luck is bad, but just loves the manipulation, the role play, the more skillful things that you can do. Mm-hmm. And others want that, no, I want everything to be out of my control, and I want to see what the dice have to say. And this does offer a really nice blend. Such that I could take this over to his house and bust this out, and everyone who has different variances of tolerance for luck versus skill, I think could interact with this game in exactly the manner that they want to.
So that's what's interesting about the game, because you get 3 rolls, so it's very Yahtzee that way. But the rituals are interesting because they provide you an out for stuff. So it's less about, oh, I just get double daggers. Like maybe you don't get double daggers, but in the case of the Hydra, I got some parchment symbols. Well, those can be used for damage as well. So I have other things I can do with my dice depending on what I want to do with them. I just by why rip artists, I love luck. Luck is it's part of games, so I'm both ways. So like I love chess, I love Go. Absolute no luck involved, strictly skill based games. It's just how it is. But I also do love playing like Ship Captain Crew, or just straight up like Yahtzee, like just roll them dice. Zombie Dice is a really great fun game.
Oh.
You ever played that one?
We were just playing that on stream last night.
Zombie, it's a fun little game that I am so freaking greedy. It is ridiculous. I am terrible. Like I'm just like 8 brains. That's not nearly enough. I need 13 to win. Straight up, 1 round. I'm gonna go for it. And it's like no, it's not gonna happen. Happened one time, and now I'm hooked.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a taste of that, or I was telling Darkwolf, I've only seen it one other time where someone needed 12, or it might have even been the 13 brains to win. Like this is it. It's desperate. It's win or lose, and you can only roll dice or scoop, and pulled off that everything was a brain eventually before the 3 shotties. Yeah, that was. You do that, and then that's legendary.
It's wild because you're just watching it. You're like, "Don't do it." And you're like, "Oh yeah, here it is." Like, "Oh gosh, dang it!" You roll some steps, but no shotgun. You just keep rolling and rolling. You're like, "I curse you!"
Well, everyone now. So you saw the mechanics of the game. It wasn't a game that was fully played out because it's just DW and I here live. But do any of you have questions for the mechanics of the game? Or even, do you have questions on aspects of role-playing into it? Or do you have questions on the development of the game? Hey, what's it like to bring this to fruition? Was there a speed bump that you hit? And of course, I mean, you absolutely touched on a universal one, which is this was born out of the height of the pandemic, lockdowns and the logistics snags and everything.
Oh man, I can go on for hours about logistics issues.
But when would you say this game took its first, like its alpha form of you sketched on a napkin, or you used like nickels and pennies for your blood tokens, kind of a thing? How old is the initial concept of the game?
Initial concept of the game is. It was pre-pandemic. I want to say 18, 19.
Okay.
Because we had the idea, we were play testing it and kicking it around probably for about a good year and a half of development cycle. I think it was Gen Con. I think it was Gen Con of 18 or 19. Gosh, I can't remember right now. One of those years, and what ended up happening was for a period of a year. So next Gen Con, we had a much better prototype because their first prototype was awful in terms of look, but it was still fun once you got a hang of it.
Okay.
Once you get past all the crappy prototype stuff, it was a really fun game people enjoyed playing, which is what we're like, hey, we should totally do this.
In part of this process too, then, and you don't need to reveal any like specific figures if you don't want to. I'm not trying to get like the super detail, but because you were doing this in house, this was a project born out of you and your family's experience with board games and love for it, and you wanted this to be an in-house development and publishing and everything. Is this Was this something that as you're saving up, you're like, yeah, well, I could probably eat another week of ramen and put that money aside? Or what, was this a case where you went out to, like, maybe you're seeking angel investors, friends or family, or a local bank or a local business? Maybe you knew someone, or when you were wanting to bring this to fruition, what were the steps that you went through to get this game/business off of the ground? And I ask
So,
simply as a small business person myself. I have a master's
oh,
degree as an executive business management. So like I love hearing these business stories and these growth stories.
so for us, what we did is we saved money over a period of a few years. We built up the basically money from work and stuff. Um, so what ended up happening with my brother? That's why it's my brothers and I, because we all went together. We each put a portion in. We're like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We need X amount of dollars to make this happen, and it's quite a bit, unfortunately. Of course, it also depends on the size of your game and what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do. We really wanted to go for the home run on the first hit instead of going quietly. So we decided to make a lot of noise. So we spent a lot of time and effort and money on the artwork, and we did multiple learning the process. So, like for example, like when I initially got quotes for the game, I quoted like 26 different manufacturers, which you never do. But I did it because I wanted to learn the process
Mm-hmm.
and also learn from different manufacturers. What questions are they asking? What are they looking at? Why are they priced like this? Why are they priced like this? Oh, that's interesting. They're really high over here. Why is that? Oh, yeah, because they are a paper company. They don't do that stuff. Like, oh, okay. So not one company does everything under one roof. They sublet work to everyone else, and then they're the ones that kind of coalesce it all together. So, like, when you're talking about a board game manufacturer, none of them actually do everything for a board game from
Mm-hmm.
start to finish. Usually, there are actually multiple companies that they link up to. So when the dice get done, that's done at someone else who does molds and resin and acrylic. They'll do paper maybe, and oh, you need bags? Well, we have a cloth company who does sewing. They do that stuff, not us.
Yeah.
And so they actually kind of, it's the whole process is really interesting. But um, so that's why like I did all that stuff just kind of to learn the process and everything. But how we did, yeah, basically to get back to your question, we saved a bunch of money and do it together, and then the money from this is paying for the next game, um, and potentially a reprint depending on how that goes.
Is that anything you can provide further comment on, or
Yeah, so we announced it about a month or two ago. We got another game coming out. It is not a social deduction game. It is still with dice, though, because we're obsessed with dice in my family. Um, Shiny math rocks, what can you say?
of course?
And they're going to be pretty again, too. That's going to be our stick, I guess. But it's called Forges of Ravenshire. And so what it is you are in the town of Ravenshire, and you're competing for the title of Forge Master for the Blacksmith Guild. And so all of you are trying to compete to see who can make the most money, and whoever makes the most money becomes the guild master. They become in charge of the guild. And so you're all trying to so you're sending your workers out into the town to get resources. You're pulling them back in. You're recruiting different guild members, because the dice not only have a number that determine what resources you get, but the color matters. And so you're actually building these engines. Like, oh, I'm recruiting more of the purple dice, the merchants, because that will then allow me to exchange money for resources to then build these cool contracts. We'll get even more money. Or maybe I want to go with the Alchemist Guild because they allow me to more easily build legendary items because they require certain special resources that you can't get as much of normally in the game. So depending on how you build your stuff, what dice you're pulling, what numbers and stuff, and you're running this forge, the whole process. Really excited. That one's really fun. That one's it's definitely crunchier. It's definitely a heavier game than this. Wouldn't say it's too heavy. I put it like a medium. But
It doesn't have the it doesn't have the as high a role playing or just the social I'll make up this character as the vengeful heretic sorcerer.
No, so that's where it's kind of is a choice we made because we thought we could do more social deduction games. We could do more role playing aspects. In fact, maybe I shouldn't say it.
Well, don't say anything you don't want to.
Let's just say we're shopping out Cult of the Deep to make it into a full fledged RPG.
Okay.
With this artwork in this world, using this setting.
Then all of you didn't hear that here first. Wink.
I hope that goes through because I would love to play in this world. It is.
It's very obvious that a lot of care went into the detail into the consideration for this. In my opinion, from the trenches of a game store, hearing that this is your all's first game is breathtaking. Like, this is very solid. The art is amazing. I like that things are bigger and readable. You actually, you had the time and the care, especially during the lockdowns and everything, that you went with these custom dice. You had the 2 colors. They have the sparkles, and not just even like, well, we could just play with, like white and red acrylic dice, just, standard issue, whatever. It is very clear to me that care and thought went into this, and that this wasn't just something that was thrown together, just sort of pooped out, and just like, cross our fingers. Let's hope that we can, that we can skate through it, kind of a thing. Because of the consideration, like the nice little the cubes for tracking the different rituals. It looks like heavy components, but it's all for simple gameplay and to make things very crisp and clear and manageable to follow along, to accent the social deduction. And so, just for what it's worth, from one game store in Ohio, I really appreciate what you put into this game. And it's, of course, now even hearing the backstory to it all, brought up in the family, moving around, you had board games, this is born out of passion, this isn't some fly-by-night Kickstarter or whatever. This is here. It is materialized. And I'm telling you all in the audience, like, Alliance has this in stock in all 4 warehouses. Like, I'm looking at it right now. So you can go and get this. And even doubly so, the fact that the game store will get it in for you at $45. I don't know. I might put it at $50 because it's about $25-ish, a little plus to get in. But even if it's at the $50 point and not the $45, you are getting a tremendous amount of content for that $50. And look, what's $50? $50 is a player's handbook in D&D. And you're getting a tremendous amount of content there, especially because there are roleplay elements to this, everyone. So I'm telling you, even if it's at the higher number of 50 and not 45, I mean, at 45, absolutely. And I would still easily justify the extra $5, just, prices and stuff go up and shipping and all that. But this, very solid. If you have a group of friends who enjoy getting together for board game night, I would heavily recommend this. So there's my commentary. It can seem intimidating if that's a negative. I don't think it necessarily is. It just means that there's a lot to enjoy and to look at. It can seem intimidating, but it makes sense. It's very beautifully done. You get the support because there's a lot of this stuff that you don't see off screen that's in the box still. You get the bags that are here. There's these different tokens as well that we didn't quite go over, but
So real fast, basically what it is, to give you a quick rundown what the content is. Thanks for the comment, Rip Artist. You have 19 characters. Now, some of them are like doubles. So we have like Sorceress 1 and Sorceress 2. There are 2 different takes on a character. Some are meant to be easier, so that, like, if you have a friend who doesn't really play a lot of board games, or you want to introduce people who maybe are not as comfortable with them, they're there to be easier to play. And there's other ones that are far more interactive. for much more chaos and a lot more fun as a player once you're used to the game, or if you're an experienced board gamer. So there's 19 characters, there's 14 sigils, and so between those two combinations, you have a very large number of combinations to go through. You have the roles as well, at different player counts. We even have some variants for the roles. Like you can have a double heretic game where you play with more heretics, which changes the balance of power. So Cabal are less likely to go out and murder the High Priest in the beginning. So it makes for a more complicated game. We also have the Necromancer variant, where that's a whole other thing too, which was kind of fun. So we have some different variants of the game that will also spice it up and change it, make it fresh. You also have the rituals, and so when they come out, depending on what order they come out in, will change the game. So the Kraken will typically accelerate the game into closer to the finish because it's going to start murdering people and it starts hurting everybody. So we don't want that to happen around. You're going to slowly die and from that process. So it tends to accelerate into a more feisty game. Especially if someone gets the Kraken, then people are really pissed off or afraid of the Kraken, and so they start daggers start flying everywhere. So there's 3 different rates. There's 2 of each one. So in terms of gameplay, there's a lot to be had. I've played this game a lot, but I would say you're probably starting to get into the realm where you're starting to see a lot of repeat start to happen after like 60, 70 games. You'll start seeing stuff that you've seen before. Probably when around 20 or 30 games, you'll start seeing it a little bit, but it's going to be a very new experience. Also, if you have different people who play, because they will play differently, and sometimes you can't trust them, and sometimes you can. So it's really fun I love this game at conventions. It's always the most fun. I love playing with new people because people just do weird stuff or sometimes like they really get into the role playing and I just love it. I just absolutely eat it freaking up. We play at Gen Con and I was playing as a high priest. This person's like, "My liege, I see that we are in danger of some blah, blah. I shall murder him for you." I'm like, no. He's like, no. It's for your own good. And so it just cracks me up and just makes the game a whole different experience.
Rip or Bane or anyone else out in chat, we have 30 people watching us right now. So number one, thank you to all of you. You are welcome to lurk, but you don't necessarily have to. We're talking to Sam. Is it fair to call you like the lead developer, the head developer? What would be your title in this project?
So in this project, I am the game designer and game developer and art director. So like really like this is my
hats.
baby.
Yeah.
My brother Ed, who's my older brother. I want to answer that question for you, Bane. Just give me 1 second. So Ed, he really helped me through the play testing phases, and he's kind of more the logistics end on stuff. He's really helped out on the back end. And then my brother Dave is he's my main demo guy. So when we go to conventions, he is the best at demoing this game. He is a master, and he's just amazing. He really likes to sit at the altar and get people to come join the cult. So that's always a love.
If you all, I don't know if I took a picture of it, but there is an amazing 3D printed altar that was used to demo this at the trade show, and it was really good.
So what it is we 3D printed. Actually, you can see the altar. So if you pull out 3 rituals.
Oh, all right.
Pull out Altar of Sacrifice, Blood Rites, and Ancient Chant. And Bane, to answer your question about the IRS using card, we don't have a direct anti-IRS card, but the sigils would work pretty well.
Oh.
So that's the altar. We actually 3D printed it, and we actually put that out. So we actually had this altar in front, not quite that big, but I put the game boards on there and stuff, and we sit behind the altar, and we actually like, hey, you want to join a cult today? Or, it's surprising none of the answers you get on that question, by the way. The amount of people willing to join a cult, I'm not sure if it's great for society or if it makes you worried for society. But
well, the Cult of the Lamb video game doesn't help things either with as popular as that's been. So yeah, there's a lot of I got nothing to do. Blood sacrifice, yeah.
Yeah, so you get one of 3 responses. So I'm like, hey, you want to join a cult today? They're like, yeah, sure, it sounds great. And you're like, oh, okay. The second one is, I'm already in a cult. This is a very common response. And usually that say, like, I'm cult agnostic. We share. So, if you want to join ours as well, like, that's cool. And then a lot of them will actually be like, fair enough. And then they usually come over. If they don't, sometimes they don't. And then the third response is, I'm not into cults, which is fair. Like, not everyone's into Cthulhu, not everyone's into cults. That's fair.
I think in fairness, now this is called Cult of the Deep, and there is a Kraken, but as far as I've seen, this is like the zombie movies following the rule of you don't call them zombies. I don't think is there a Cthulhu reference in this, or is it all you can call it Cthulhu, but we're not?
So this was Cthulhu inspired. Yeah, I'm available, by the way, Friday or Saturday. Feel free to come to meetings. It's great. We have cookies. We have Kool-Aid. Always welcome new members. It's good times. So what we did is Cthulhu inspired, but for me, when I was creating the world, I was world building, because I wasn't sure where I was going with this at first. I wasn't sure if it was going to be RPG, what I was going to do with it. Sorry, you're in Kool-Aid. Awesome. I'll share. When we were creating this, my idea was, what if we lived in a world where mythologies were real, just maybe not quite in the way we thought they were? And so that's where we kind of went with like the Kraken. Is definitely inspired from a few sources. One, Cthulhu, but also inspired like Dagon and stuff, but also inspired from different Kraken. So the original Norse Kraken is actually a crab. It wasn't a giant squid or an octopus, it was a crab. And so taking that, have you ever seen what is it? Is it Wrath of the Gods? I think it was the 80s, and there was a remake later in the 2000s. Their Kraken was really cool. The idea of it.
Oh, Clash of the Titans?
Clash of Titans. That's what it is. And so we took a lot of some inspirations. We're like, we're going to make our Kraken. We're going to do it. Sirens, actually, for example, are another one that's based on historical references, because I'm a historical nerd. So sirens originally weren't mermaid-esque. Sirens originally were actually birds, or birds with the head of a woman or a man or whatever. And so that's where we were going to kind of do that. So the original idea for sirens is like, well, maybe they're changelings. So the car was originally supposed to be like maybe some birds that are then changing into women and men who are then seducing the pirates or seducing the seafarers. But what ended up happening, it was like, well, no. So in our world, to kind of give a reference for it, but also make it different, the sirens, we went with more of like the fin approach to the wings. So we call them sea angels. And so that's why they have the wings and the lighting above them and stuff. So if it wasn't for the fact that he's gutting a pirate dude, she could have been an angel.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like some of the things that kind of went with it. So we did a lot of world building of the game. Like the Wraiths, actually, if you look at them, if you pick up the card and look at them, they're actually based on sea mines.
Which one? I'm sorry?
The Wraith cards.
Oh, yeah, because of the chains. And
so if you look at the chain actually
Yeah.
follows all the way back behind them, and all of those wraiths in the back, they're actually chained to the ocean. They're actually chained to the deep, and so all of them have these chains. So they're actually the original image of them was actually like there's like 20 of them, and they're all just sitting there bobbing in the fog, but they're all chained to the deep.
Yeah.
Was the original like concept work for it. And I saw that, I'm like, Liam, you genius man, I could kiss you right now. Like that was like a cool moment for the Wraith.
There's a lot of very good indirect storytelling, which is a personal favorite of mine, because it does usher in a feeling of discovery, of maybe you found a secret, or something that maybe wasn't even known at the time by the person who made it, but it just happened to, look this way or line up this way. But being told something just doesn't have that same experience as discovering for yourself. And and so like putting in some lore and whatnot in a book is perfectly fine. But if you give everything away, I'm not saying that you did, by the way. This is me looking at the audience and just
I have a ton of Easter eggs.
Opining my own desires. When you can build a story off of some art consistencies, or that there are just things that you go, that is interesting. Because on the first glance of the Wraith, you pretty much just see the Wraith and you get, okay, kind of a foggy sea background. And then you might go, okay, so there's another mountain back there. Oh, wait a minute, those aren't little clouds or other little mountains. Those are flying things. Okay, yeah, so there's more of them. And what's going on, and then you might find consistent art elsewhere. And it's all just telling a story through the art and the cards. Maybe if there's ever like a flavor text or a blurb in a book, but especially with your imagination as the glue, like holding it together, or as the fuel in the engine that has been made piecemeal by the content provided. I'm a big fan of that. Show, don't tell.
So I'll go through a few more, because I just love these aspects, and they don't normally get picked up because they're kind of like Easter eggs. And so some people pick them up, and I always get a huge smile on my face when it happens. But actually, if you look at the roll cards, that's actually the front cover.
Yes.
Of the game.
Yeah.
So you have like the Kraken set up. If you put the High Priest in the center, then you put the Faithful to the right of them, and you put the Cabal to the left of them, and you put the Heretic in front of them, then that's all the different roles shown on the front of the box. So that's always fun. And then the sigils are actually, if you look at the base magic around the High Priest, the sigils actually will match up with that concept and idea of the circles and stuff. And those same symbols on the side, those are the symbols that are on the back of the card, the different cards and stuff.
For any of you just joining, there, I'll try and catch it on. There we go. You can see you can catch it in the light here.
So are additional decks available, and can they be used with the original cards? Being like an expansion?
Yeah, are you looking for an expansion of this rip, or are you going like, this is Cult of the Deep? Are they going to make like a Cult of the Blood for demons, or a Cult of the Earth for like whatever elementals or something, or an expansion?
I have an idea for some expansions. It depends on how well it does as a game, unfortunately. Because I want to do this more, but it depends on how well it does. We've had a lot of good responses, but it has to consistently be getting good responses.
Yeah.
In order for it to kind of move forward. But I would love to live with this world some more, because what we want to do actually is, so this game, we actually have a setting for it. It's actually in Stavros, Greece, right around 1592, 1600. And so that's why, like, it's kind of like our own world variant. So if you actually look at the Necromancer card, the character, the Necromancer is actually Egyptian. The idea that it was an ancient priest of Egypt who found the thing of powers and stuff, but has been kind of living through the eons, the centuries and centuries. But in the background, it's definitely like a Parthenon
Yeah.
kind of style, coastal, and so he's Egyptian, but he doesn't belong there. So he's the wanderer, the outcast, is what he is. But then we also have the astrologer character, for example. She is actually a Mayan from Central America. And so, but if you look at it around her, she has these columns like you would in Greece. And so actually she's in Greece. So actually she's an ambassador of the Mayan people in Greece. So in our timeline, the Mayans and the Aztecs are not conquered, and they actually are very strong in the old ways and magic and stuff. And so they've actually kind of established themselves pretty strongly as a world power. They're in their own right.
Dipping into a Mesoamerican history or fantasy, it may be a more uncommon, because we're like, oh, we get it, ancient Egypt and Greece and all that. But I'll tell you, there are a lot of people who do have that. Like, if you're even just dipping a toe into those waters, like that's a solid, like, wow, yes, like it's such strong imagery and a strong culture, and the old new world kind of a feel as well. That if you are dipping even into Mesoamerican elements, that can hopefully help get a lot of attention as well.
Well, one thing we went with for the Mayans, what we wanted to do was, so her dress is Mayan but with Greek aesthetics, and so she has I can't remember the name of it now, the triangular over piece to the dress or the blouse that goes over the shoulders. That is a very traditional look, and there's a lot of Mayans in the imagery that actually have that. And actually, and currently in Guatemala and parts of Mexico, that is still part of traditional clothing for the cultures there. Jade was a big deal as well. Jade was a huge deal for the Mayans, and that hairstyle is actually pulled from some of the ruins. So there's some cool pages where you can actually look at the ruins and the imagery and the stuff they use, and there's actually some great resources that compile like artistically like what hairstyles was worn that time period, what did that look like, what did that mean, and so a lot of cool stuff.
Well, you all heard it. To support a small business, even too, because these games. Well, do you sell direct off your website in case people don't have a friendly local game store?
We do actually. We just got it up. So if you go to bagamesco.com, you can order straight through us. We just got that up actually like 2 days ago. So, yeah, I'll type it in chat real fast.
Oh, wait, not yet. You got to get permission, otherwise the bot will nuke you from orbit. Hold on.
Oh, no, I don't want to get nuked.
Yep, hang on.
Or you can put it.
Yeah, that might be faster. BA Games Co. Oh, wow, Raven beat me to it even. Man, Raven, you're putting me out of my own job here. Thank you very much, Raven, for yeah. Yeah, I know. I was beaten by my mod.
So Raven's the real high priestess or high priest, right?
Very much so. Her patron is Loki. So, thank you for the permission to post a link in my channel daily. This is why I pay you in the big bucks of minis. So you can go straight to the manufacturer. Of course, if you do have a local game store that has earned your business, talk to them about getting this game in. And what I will be doing here as well is I want to pass on this copy to one of you out there, and maybe you can go on to show this to your friends and family, and you can teach them this game You can bring it to your library if it's appropriate, or to a friend group or something, and you can help be an ambassador for BA Games, small startup business, family business. This is their first foray, in my opinion. If you value anything of my opinion, this is a very amazing, strong start. And I will definitely be making sure that a copy is kept here in this store to be replenished as often as we can. Because I really appreciate it, Sam. Again, look, I was some rando at a convention. You gave me the time for the elevator pitch. You had a really solid display. Your display with the 3D printed altar and all of that, it was congruent, it was consistent, and it helped go into what you were putting out there. It was eye-catching. I pay attention to that, and especially for people who otherwise give me a chance when I don't like going around dressed up. If any of you saw me out on the street, I'm just I wear a t-shirt and jeans. I high water my jeans. I probably look dumpy and weird and everything. And it's a big tell how people interact with me for not seeing that I wear, anything necessarily designer, or I don't wear my clothes in a very common fashion. Because if they still treat me as a friend, or with respect, or polite, they hold a door, they say please and thank you, that means a lot. And so, Sam, when we met, I really got an authentic feel from you. I really did pick up on the effort that you were putting into this game, that this is a startup and you have put so much into getting it off the ground. And then what really cinched it is you gave me a copy of the game. You absolutely didn't have to. I had no expectations of walking away with it, and still you treated me with respect. You gave me the pitch on the game, had that solid effort, and I wanted to pass that along. And especially that you're making time to spend with us at it's Saturday night, and you're here on Twitch talking with the audience and sharing things. Oh, Raven, well, thank you very much for the re-up on your sub there. You were doing all this, and I wanted to make sure that in return I was treating you favorably. I love doing business with people who do business with me. And I'm very happy to review this and to promote it. And I want to send this copy out because you gave it to me in good faith, in hopes that it would go on to inspire people. I think we've been able to inspire the now almost 40 people who are watching. And directly, I can ship this out to someone to learn the game and hopefully teach the game to others. And that's goodwill, and that's how we succeed, especially as small businesses, everyone. We got to help each other out. We got to help spread the word organically, because we don't have massive budgets to do it, or, a big fancy New York office marketing, whatever, to do a Super Bowl commercial, or, whatever fantastical things like that. It's authentic. It comes from our hearts, and it's this nice grassroots effort as well. So, Raven, if you can share their website one more time, so that you all can give support to BA Games. Because as you all heard, if the game does well, it might go into a second print, and that's also fueling another game to come, and even possibly other expansions or other things. ... Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. But this is your opportunity. Just as you engage with me, you get the prize capsules that we have for all the minis and the paint sets and everything. If you can spare it. The price on this is absolutely amazing, and especially with what we do, because Sam, we primarily teach D&D and other role-playing games. $50 is that sweet spot, because $50 is usually the cost of the core rulebook to take you on, nearly infinite adventures, such as the Player's Handbook. And I will absolutely, I'm looking you all here in the eye through the camera, face to face. You are getting a Player's Handbook worth of replayability and content out of this game. So if you want to do an apples to apples comparison, I think that's a really solid start. Or we're even talking about Magic the Gathering. You are definitely getting $50 worth of Magic cards out of this box set. Sam, was there anything else that you did want to add while I'm opening up the giveaway for everyone here?
Oh, no, I'm going to start crying here for a second here. Just give me a moment here.
Oh, yep. Do what you got to do, just...
No, I just appreciate it. It's just one of those things, you work on stuff, and it's great to see people enjoy what you created. It's a whole lot of fun.
Well, and if there's
Uh,
ever a time that you want to come back, or especially if I can get things rearranged for our broadcast area here, which is normally done for our box openings for inventory, our miniature painting sessions, or things like that. It's not the best right now to do a multiplayer game. That's something that I would like to grow into as well, and we can repurpose our Warhammer table because we don't have Warhammer players after hours here. To be able to do a fuller game. I'd love to do that, but if there's other things you would like to interact with us, or if there's feedback, I'm sure there's members of our community. If you wanted any kind of like a stress test or a feedback of some variety, or you need to bounce ideas, I would love to offer myself, Darkwolf, any of the members of the community for sacrifice. I mean, for opinions. And and if we can help you succeed, because look, we're small business, we're in this together. Please let me know if I can help you in some way to do that. And I know for sure I'm going to spread this out, and I'm going to at least put one copy at all times up on the shelf here as much as I can.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd be really curious. Another game coming up, and then if the RPG happens for this, that would be super exciting. That would be something we could totally.
The giveaway is open. It's called Join the Cult. ! Ticket or !enter to get in on it. This will be free shipping to a U.S. address. If you live outside the U.S., you will be responsible for the shipping to get Cult of the Deep out to you. Although, speaking of which, either from your website or do you know, is this game available in EU stores or down in Australia? Or
Actually, it is. We actually are distributed in Australia. We actually have through 2 different distributors, so it is available to be ordered through your local game store in Australia,
so you can
and I think New Zealand as well.
later that I'll then yell at you about.
And then we also are in Europe with a few different distributors, so you can also order it through your local game store in Europe as well. In fact, we did get an order recently through distributors to get more games over there, so they're coming. They're there.
All right, so for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, it's springtime. You're looking for something to do. There's the springtime storms crashing against the coast of Australia and New Zealand. Get in on that. And also, Bane has donated to me the cost of a copy, so I can get another copy in to give away. So we're sort of perpetuating the cycle. So it seems like at some future point, after I get another copy in through Alliance on a future order here, I might be giving out another copy before I put another one up on the shelf as well. That is Well, which half? The coins, the tokens? What are you talking about? Just the left half?
Half a copy.
Like,
whoa,
just the
whoa,
top
whoa.
half. We just want the Kraken.
Although that being said, can you start reassembling this? Now we have two blood bags here. Is it how are you apportioning this? Just half the tokens for each, because like one would go to one side of the table, one to the other for convenience, or is there a difference in something?
Yes, that's exactly what it was for. The bags are there for easy setup. So you literally just kind of toss them out. They have embroidery on them, so you don't tell what they are.
Okay.
And the bags, they're actually have a round sewed bottom, so they actually do stand up. So once you put tokens,
I noticed
in them,
that. That's another.
Just stand up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have fat hands, and I have a really hard time with some stuff sometimes. And the plastic ones, they don't look as cool. And sometimes I can't get those freaking things open in some of the games. So I'm like, I have fat hands. Let's get some bags. Let's make some nice round bottoms and sit up straight.
Well, there you go. And who out there doesn't like round bottoms? Moving on. This is PG-13.
We're not just now.
This is. So Darkwolf here is reassembling this for you all. ! Ticket or ! Enter if you'd like to win this this previously loved copy of the game here, that it was given in goodwill and will be passed on and such. I will not require proof that you've gone on to play this with others at your local game store or at your Thanksgiving Day table or something like that. But I would, in the spirit of this, I would highly enjoy it if whoever wins this actually did take a moment to set up something at your local store, your library, if you have a board game club, or I don't know, you go to a civic club like Orioles or Rotary or something like that. Or, I mean, I guess you could bring it to a church group, but your mileage may vary in that regard. You, please use your discretion.
What you do is you bring this in D&D and say, "Hey, pastor, pick one."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's how. That's very good, like leverage to try and get the games you want in youth groups. So,
I gotta say, Sierra Echo. You know what? I spent so much time in the game making it a 3-part mural or triptych. I didn't even think about doing it as an art print series. Because we have art prints and things. Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. I will look at that.
Yep. Hey, if it helps, like the art is amazing, and it's clear that you put the time and the investment in it. So even if you offer it as whatever scrolls, posters, or disc plates or something like that, looks like a great game. Sort of hoping I win it, partly because of the artwork and interest in general, but also a lot because you're based in my home state, which makes me proud. Miller said that he was born in Nebraska, and so it was really nice to see someone from Nebraska.
Yep, Lincoln, Nebraska. Home of apparently Cornhuskers and now board games.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something else too. Is this printed in the U.S. in Nebraska or?
No.
Okay.
We looked at printing in the U.S. and if anyone ever wants to talk to me about why it doesn't happen, I'm more than happy to go into a full discussion about it. But to put it bluntly, printing in the U.S. is. Let's get an example. If a game costs $80, right? Basically, a game store is going to get that for $40, give or take, from a distributor. Usually, give or take a few dollars, or depending on who they're getting it from and all that stuff. But so that means then, as a publisher, I need to try and get that game's cost down, so that I can when I sell it, I'm good. So I'm probably looking at somewhere between $20 to $30 for production, probably closer to 20 would be better.
Mm-hmm.
In the U.S., if it's $20 in China, it's about $60 to $80 to produce it in the U.S.
Yeah,
which means that like you're for the same price you want to buy it for $80 is it's just not going to work. Like it just doesn't. It is the same price you sell for, which means you have to get the markup, which means the game store is going to get it for like $120, which means you're going to buy the game for $160. So it's literally double, like, or more of what you normally. I want to print in the U.S. It'd help a lot, but for games like this, the U.S. is not set up for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hope that didn't make you squirm in your seat or you think that I was setting you up for something. I totally understand.
I'm happy to talk
developed
about
here, and it's going to a family firmly in the breadbasket of things. So
I have a whole blog that we did for the last year or two that has like stuff talking about this. So feel free to check it out. I'm very open about stuff. So like if you want to ask anything about whatever, or like production or even costs involved, like I'm all happy to talk about that. Sure. Like,
one question, because this does have the nice embossing on the back. Is there a card sleeve size that these would fit into to help preserve the state of the cards? Is this tarot sized or?
Yep, standard tarot size.
Okay. There's a lot for those of you out there. There are several major board game sleeve companies. And so if you're looking at tarot sized, which is its own standard, these will fit into tarot sleeves.
We thought tarot was nice for the game because you're in a cult, so why not have tarot sized cards?
Yeah. Well, +2 because it is a more standardized sleeve, and you weren't doing a bunch of custom. Like, it's neat when a board game is like, oh, we're gonna make octagonal cards for this, and like, okay, I hope you're printing a bunch of extras because these things are gonna get destroyed and they're gonna have to get replaced, or to sleeve them to try and make them last longer. It's gonna be really weird. So going with something that has a standardization does make it easier to try and preserve these.
Yeah, I learned there's a standard size for tarot cards.
There is.
Yes.
And there's a number of companies have sleeves for them. A number of them do. There's quite a few. It's probably the third most common after your basic, well, maybe fourth. Because you'll have your Magic and Pokemon sizes, or Yu-Gi-Oh! Then you'll have your mini card size, which is very common for European games. Then tarot is a very common size in certain games and stuff like that, and for tarot decks. So, there you go.
All right, now I have the board game receptacle here. How am I stacking these up in the most efficient way?
Well,
Oh,
the dice were in this pile. Based on memory.
So if you look at actually, this is probably good to do it on the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
here, let me move these off to the side. All right,
Dice
y'all
here?
look at Darkwolf's cam.
I'll take
So
bags.
the dice. So you see those three little wells on the top there.
Okay.
Those are for like the dice and stuff. So just in the bags. So just kind of put them. They should lay flat. And yep, perfect. And then the D4s and the red ones go. Yep, right there. Absolutely. Then you stack the 4 altar boards on top of those. They stack up and just lay right on top. Perfect. And then all the tarot cards all stack together and they go into the tarot slot. Now, one thing to note, that is sized for sleeved cards. So if you sleeve them, it will fit all of them.
Thank you for thinking ahead in that regard as well. Y'all, all right. So if it hasn't been obvious, Sam has put a lot of thought into this. So please, as a board game developer, if nothing else, support developers who do this sort of thing, because he wants to help encourage you to take care of your cards and is accounted for it.
So one way to do it is you can stuff all the bags there. What I like to do is I take the black bags and I lay them flat on top of the altar boards across.
Okay.
And then you take that up, and there should be 3 black bags.
Sorry, third one's here.
And if you want to get real technical, what I do, I even alternate them. That way the fat side is up top, bottom, top.
Oh, yeah,
I'm a fanatic when it comes to things. So those all fit on top there. Then the red bags will fit into the big square well. Nice and easy, no flatten down. And then the rule book goes on top.
Yep. One last question: Who's the librarian here? Is this modeled after anyone in particular?
Actually, it is. There's a few clues on it, but you guys probably won't get it because there is a group called the Board Game Design Lab. It's a Facebook group / community that does a lot of helping out indie people. There's a whole podcast actually. He's got like 100 some odd episodes, and it's just like he interviews game designers that talk about the process, the manufacturing, the marketing, the whole like point A to point Z, like developing a board game design and publishing it, manufacturing, selling it. And so Gabe Barrett is the guy who's kind of in charge of it. And so what he did was I put him into the game because he was a huge beneficiary to why the game was developed the way it was and everything else. So we took him, aged him about 40, 50 years, and put him in the game as a librarian because he's a librarian. He's got all the knowledge, all the podcasts, all this stuff. So we kept a little thing for him. So on the books in front of him are actually the different games that he's designed.
Ah, okay.
So like Hunted is one of his games. There's another one for it's called Kobayashi Tower was one of his games. So that's actually on one of the titles. So we put some of his titles in there to kind of as a little nod to that's Gabe Barrett.
All right, everyone. It's been about 15 minutes. There are 22 of you who have entered to win this copy of Cult of the Deep by BA Games. It's a shame we don't have Karma the Goat in chat. She'd absolutely love your logo here. But exclamation point ticket or exclamation point enter to get in. I will count down from 20. I will then close entries and do a dramatic drum roll before we draw the winner to find out who will be receiving this game. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close giveaway. All right. Now it's time to draw the winner of this board game and expand the Cult of the Deep. And the winner is Dark Druid Productions. Well, speaking of people who lead cults, it couldn't have gone to a better cultist. Dark Druid, who runs a Vampire the Masquerade game. Prince William by Night.
Darkwolf, and I was like, I didn't enter.
Rigged. So congrats to Dark Druid. I can almost assure you, Sam, that Dark Druid will absolutely be able to put this game in front of other people and have them join a cult.
Excellent. We always like growing the cult.
Yep, so we'll make sure that this goes in your pile of winnings, Dark Druid, aka Sylvanov. And oh yeah, it was all shit. All right, so congratulations, you've started a new box of things that will be shipped out to you. Presuming, I don't know if you go on to later get any sort of prize capsules that we feature and whatnot, but this is a beautiful beginning to a bunch of tragic endings for people. And Sam, I want to super say thank you for making the time to hang out with us tonight, and for being here to explain the game, answer questions, and to give us that little bit of inside baseball on what game development is like, the process, the fun little Easter eggs, and hopefully you'll stick with us as well on our Discord as I will try to continue to grow this community. And I'm apparently, courtesy of Bane, going to be giving out another copy of Cult of the Deep at some future point in time, too. And if you stick around, especially as you continue to go down the path of board game development, I would love to be able to talk with you and to have you back on the show as a knowledgeable, disembodied voice to directionlessly offer us insight into what you have coming.
So yeah, happy to do that. I will do this. So on our Kickstarter, we actually had we made a digital art book, and we also did a short story written by Dan Wells, who's a horror writer. And so if any of you just shoot me an email at sam@bagamesco.com and let me know that you listened in, and I will send you a digital copy to check it. It's got a cool short story about it's in the game world. I don't say it's the game itself, but it kind of plays out kind of the game and stuff. It's actually a really cool story. And also you'll see some of the concept art and stuff, as well as bigger art versions of just the artwork. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email. I'll get you guys a digital copy. I know some of you are thinking about potentially making some spirit tokens for your Magic decks. Shoot me an email. We'll talk.
Sam at bagamesco.com.
Mm-hmm.
So it is co.com, not bagames.co.
Yeah, it's
bagamesco.com.
bagamesco.com because bagames.co and bagames.com were both taken by a casino company. So
and make sure that you mention that you heard him here at the Hero Zone.
Yeah.
Now, so at some future point, this will end up on YouTube. So the sooner you do this, and Sam, I'll let you know when this goes live for abroad. Not that I have like millions of people watching or anything, but still, for those of you here and now, you have a little bit of time to get those emails out, especially if you really love the art and he's willing to share with you, electronic copies of the art book surrounding this game. This would be an incredible opportunity for you, and I appreciate you extending that to the people who are here tonight. We're still, let's see, we have 35 now, so we're still 30 to 40 throughout the night. This has been amazing, especially because we normally don't broadcast in the board games corner of Twitch. Not yet, anyway. This is something that I would like to do a lot more expanding into. Sam, with you kind of peeking over my shoulder, like, you can see that there is a real life game store, but this is just a fraction of what the store is. The store is 3,000 square feet, maybe 3,500 or thereabouts. And there are walls with board games as well that we have. And but primarily I teach storytelling, primarily through the medium of D&D. But last week we featured Alien RPG, Vampire the Masquerade, and Call of Cthulhu. But I would like to branch out as well as the channel does continue to grow and see if I can do some more things with board games. And I'm happy then to have you as the guy on the inside for some advice, and especially because Darkwolf may or may not have an evil plot that she's trying to hatch, and I'm sure that kind of shared experience would mean a lot.
No problem.
I'm going to put this in the chat as well. It was Sam at eagamesco.com. If I mess that up somehow, let me know. But otherwise, if you send an email and just mention, hey, thank you for presenting. I saw you on Matt's show in the Hero Zone. Something to indicate that you were here and present and you were watching. Then he can hook you up with a couple thank yous.
Yeah. So bgamesco.com. So not com.com.
No, wow. All right. Disregard me. I haven't been doing this for 5 years. I'm terrible.
No, that's normal. It's kind of a weird name. But, yeah.
There we go. That should. I swear.
It's a trick to make sure you're paying attention.
Yeah. This was quality assurance. Sam, come on. Didn't you know?
You just want to make sure that as a guest, I'm not just being like blowing smoke. That I'm actually paying attention.
Yeah. This is all for you all in chat, and for the hotter the fire, the harder the steel. So we really gotta not give a bunch of softball questions to our interviewer here. Also, welcome Raiders, Insomnia Night RPG. Welcome to the Hero Zone, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here. We just gave away a copy of Cult of the Deep, and we have the game designer on voice call with us, at least for the next minute or so, as we're going to wind up this portion of what we're doing in the store. Although it's only 2 a.m., and depending on what you all out there may like to see, we have a whole case of Spelljammer minis that could be busted open to be put into our orphanage here, so you all can do some a la carte miniature shopping. Sam, you're welcome to lurk if you'd like, but any last-minute questions for Sam from BA Games in general or about Cult of the Deep, go ahead and get them in now. Otherwise, I'm going to do a calling it once and twice, and we will conclude this part of the show.
We go once, twice, go to resolve phase,
Yeah.
then we'll be good.
Yeah, and, we open up the channel too by Untap, which is greeting everyone. Upkeep, where I give out the server, like what's going on Discord. We have all our contests and our events, and then we do our draw phase, where people who want prize capsules before I start my main phase of presenting the whatever the topic is. So we do Untap, Upkeep, Draw, and then I go into main phase 1. We take a break, main phase 2, and then we we finish. So
Actually, you do the battle phase after.
well,
Oh.
yeah, that's yeah.
So, just to
This is
answer
where
your
my jokes
question,
come in, 'cause I'm
Bane,
like, yeah.
there's not a card that sends a heretic to the stake, but there is a card called Altar Sacrifice. And the only way to activate that ritual is someone has to die. So you can't put symbols on it, you have to kill someone.
All right, let's mark this as complete, and thank you again for your time, sir. I'm going to bail out of voice chat and go take a quick personal break before coming back and seeing if I don't know. Do you want to bust open some minis tonight, or is it too late for you? Because you've been here.
I've
You've
been
here
here
forever.
all day.
We don't have to bust minis tonight, but it's an option.
I mean,
It can always be done maybe tomorrow if other business is wrapped up too. We could probably do a bonus stream for it. Maybe tomorrow. And maybe we could play
we could retry Wizard School now that we know that.
we could
know the
retry
game.
Wizard School if you want, yeah. We have zombie dice here and Cthulhu Gloom. So but thank you. Okay, so yep. We'll
Have a great night, and thanks for having me.
Yep, thank you for hanging out with us, and I will see you back here again, no doubt, sir.
All right.